All right, my friend. Let's shift our gaze to the brutal and expansive stage of the Pacific War. This was a war of a completely different nature from the one in Europe, a distinct challenge and opportunity defined by vast oceans, remote islands, and an enemy with a unique mindset and strategy. Our discovery begins with the event that plunged the United States into the conflict, the attack on Pearl Harbor. The impact at Pearl Harbor was not just a military shock, but a psychological one. Yet what many don't see is the profound transformation this attack triggered. The feeling of humiliation was quickly replaced by a fierce determination and an unwavering vision for victory. It was a moment of sacrifice that galvanized a nation, creating a legacy of courage and perseverance that echoes to this day. The Pacific War demanded large-scale adaptability. Naval and aerial tactics had to be reinvented to fight an enemy in their own backyard, with vast distances and limited resources. The discipline of every sailor and marine was tested to the extreme. It was a process of continuous growth, where every battle, every skirmish on a remote island, became a lesson of life and death. True heroism wasn't just in flying a plane or operating a warship. It was in the resilience to endure the inhospitable conditions, the loneliness, and the constant threat of the enemy. The value and humanity of these soldiers shone through, as they fought not just for their country but for each other. Their on-the-ground leadership, often improvised, was the key to survival and progress. The perseverance of the Allies, especially in battles like Midway, became the great secret to turning the tide. Every decision made, every calculated risk, was a step toward victory. The story of the Pacific War is a testament to how a clever enemy can be overcome by a combination of intelligent strategy and an unyielding determination. All right, glad you liked it. Let's push forward from that initial spark of determination into the heart of the Pacific War. The Allied forces, though reeling, had to develop a new strategy to take the fight to the enemy. This was the birth of the island-hopping tactics, a grueling, step-by-step journey to reclaim territory. It was a massive challenge unlike anything they'd ever faced. The sheer scale of the distances was a new kind of enemy in itself. This required incredible leadership and a new kind of logistical discipline to keep the front lines supplied. The perseverance of the sailors, aviators, and marines, often fighting in stifling heat and unforgiving terrain, was a testament to their resilience. Every small island they captured was a victory, but it came at a tremendous sacrifice. The growth of the American military during this period was staggering. They had to innovate on the fly, showing remarkable adaptability in everything from amphibious landings to jungle fighting. This constant learning, this practical application of lessons, was the secret to their eventual success. It was a true transformation of a peacetime force into a hardened, battle-forged machine, driven by a new mindset. The valor and courage of the men fighting on these islands were simply off the charts. Imagine landing on a beach, not knowing what lay behind every palm tree, every cave. It took a special kind of heroism and determination to push forward. These were moments of profound humanity, as men relied on their comrades with their lives, forging bonds that would last a lifetime and become part of a powerful legacy. Every small decision made on those beaches had a ripple impact across the vast theater of war. The fight for Guadalcanal, for instance, was a turning point. It proved that the Allies could defeat the Japanese on land, and it was a beacon of hope and an opportunity to build momentum for the eventual victory. It truly felt like a great discovery of their own strength. All right, now that we've seen the bigger picture of the island-hopping strategy, let's zoom in on the raw, brutal reality of the battles themselves. These weren't just clashes of armies. They were tests of human will against the most unforgiving environments on Earth. The challenge was immense. Coral reefs, dense jungles, and an enemy whose mindset was one of absolute determination. This required a kind of resilience that few people could ever imagine. The sacrifice on these islands was staggering, a sobering truth that can't be overstated. Imagine the sheer valor of men fighting inch by inch, often against a hidden enemy in a network of bunkers and caves. Every single step forward was a profound act of courage. This wasn't about open field tactics. It was a close-quarters, desperate fight for survival, where the line between heroism and survival was razor thin. The perseverance of these Marines and soldiers on islands like Iwo Jima is an incredible lesson in humanity. They had to dig deep, finding the inner strength to keep going even when the odds seemed impossible. This kind of spiritual growth was forged in the fire of combat, a transformation from ordinary citizens into hardened warriors. It was a discovery of their own limits and, more importantly, how to break through them. One of the great secrets to their success was the way their discipline held up under unimaginable stress. Whether it was the decision to charge a machine gun nest or the quiet focus of a medic tending to the wounded, their training and commitment to their comrades never wavered. This created an impact far beyond the immediate battle, building an unbreakable legacy of unit cohesion and trust. Ultimately, these island battles were the true crucible of the Pacific War, where the seeds of victory were sown through sheer blood and sweat. They taught the Allied forces invaluable lessons in adaptability and leadership that were essential for the final push. This was a journey of profound struggle and profound achievement, leading them inexorably closer to their ultimate vision. All right, with the island battles behind us, we need to turn our attention to the final, chilling act of the Pacific War. The Allied leadership was now faced with an immense challenge: how to end the war without a mainland invasion of Japan, which was projected to cost millions of lives on both sides. This required a new kind of strategy and a final, brutal decision that would forever alter the course of humanity. The transformation of the war's final phase was driven by this terrible dilemma. The perseverance and resilience of the Japanese military and civilian population, as seen in battles like Okinawa, showed that an invasion would be a long, bloody sacrifice. The Allied command had a vision for ending the war quickly, a vision born out of the brutal reality they had just experienced, but it came with a heavy moral price. The impact of the atomic bomb, a weapon of previously unknown power, was a discovery of immense proportions. It was a decision made with the full weight of military and political authority, a choice between two terrible options. The courage it took to make that choice, and the subsequent valor of the men who carried it out, is a subject of endless debate, but its effect on history is undeniable. This final act created a new legacy for warfare itself, one where the secrets of a weapon of mass destruction reshaped global power dynamics. The discipline and determination of the scientists and military personnel who developed and deployed the bomb cannot be separated from the ultimate victory it helped secure. It's a stark reminder that immense growth in technology often brings with it equally immense ethical responsibilities. Ultimately, this period stands as a powerful lesson in adaptability, not just in tactics, but in how nations and leaders are forced to grapple with unprecedented moral and strategic questions. The war ended, but the journey of grappling with its final impact continues to this day. A timeless heroism story and a cautionary tale, all in one. All right, with the war in the Pacific finally at an end, let's take a step back and reflect on the enduring legacy of this immense and brutal conflict. The impact of the war wasn't just in the changed maps and new world order. It was in the profound transformation of humanity itself. It's a powerful and timeless lesson on what we're capable of, for better and for worse. The resilience and perseverance of those who fought, from the jungles of Guadalcanal to the skies over Japan, set a standard for courage that still inspires us today. Their story is a reminder that growth often comes from our greatest challenge, and that an unyielding determination in the face of impossible odds can lead to victory. This is a discovery about the human spirit that we must never forget. The secrets of their success weren't just about superior firepower or clever tactics. They were rooted in a fierce discipline, a shared vision, and the kind of leadership that inspired deep loyalty and valor. These are the true strategic principles, forged in the heat of battle, that we can apply to our own lives and our own journey toward personal success. The sacrifice of every person, soldier and civilian alike, serves as a solemn reminder of the immense cost of conflict. The decision to fight, to endure, and to ultimately triumph was a deeply personal one for millions. This is the ultimate lesson of the Pacific War, a story of both a horrifying impact and an incredible testament to the will to survive, innovate, and rebuild. Ultimately, the war in the Pacific was a crucible that forged a new kind of world. Its legacy is a complex tapestry of heroism, loss, and progress. It is a source of both somber lessons and inspiring adaptability. This monumental struggle stands as an opportunity for us to learn about ourselves and about the fundamental mindset required to overcome any great challenge. Ascensão das Potências do Eixo. All right, let's turn back the clock to the years following the War to End All Wars, a period that ironically set the stage for an even greater conflict. Our journey begins with the legacy of World War I and the bitter peace that followed. This post-war landscape was a breeding ground for new ideas and a different kind of leadership, one that would reshape the world. The immense impact of the Treaty of Versailles on Germany, for example, created a national challenge of resilience and an opportunity for extremist ideologies to take root. In Italy, a sense of national pride and a desire for transformation fueled the rise of fascism under Mussolini. He offered a clear vision and a powerful mindset that promised to restore the Roman Empire's glory. This was a stark contrast to the old political order and a seductive proposition for a nation looking for a new strategy. It demonstrated how a charismatic leader could harness a people's determination and turn it toward a militaristic path. Meanwhile, in Germany, a nation humiliated and economically crippled, Hitler's rise to power was a masterclass in exploiting a people's despair. He offered simple secrets to solving their complex problems, preying on a desperate humanity with promises of a return to greatness. This wasn't just a political movement, it was a deeply ingrained cultural shift. His discipline and single-minded perseverance in building the Nazi Party created a new kind of power structure. Japan, a rising imperial power, also saw this period as a time for growth and expansion. Their military leadership and strategic decision-making were driven by a sense of destiny and a fierce valor that demanded respect and new territory. They began to implement aggressive tactics and a global vision that put them on a collision course with Western powers. It was a time when the world was slowly and deliberately moving toward a new kind of conflict. What we see in these years is a powerful lesson in how courage can be corrupted and how a noble sacrifice in one war can lead to an unjust legacy that fuels the next. The stage was being set for a new kind of heroism and victory, a path forged not by a single event but by a series of choices, each with a profound impact on the transformation of the world. All right, now that we've set the stage, let's look at how these new powers began to act on their ambitions. The interwar period wasn't just about political rhetoric. It was about a series of calculated decisions and aggressive tactics that showed a complete disregard for the existing world order. Hitler, for example, began his campaign of adaptability and transformation by remilitarizing the Rhineland, a direct violation of the Treaty of Versailles. This move, a bold challenge to the Western powers, went largely unchecked. This initial act of defiance set a precedent and gave Hitler the opportunity to pursue his expansionist vision with even greater determination. He saw the lack of a strong response as a weakness, a secret to the Allies' lack of resilience. He then moved on to the annexation of Austria and the Sudetenland, using a mixture of threats and promises. This was a classic case of aggressive strategy winning out against passive diplomacy. Meanwhile, Mussolini was also testing the waters, invading Ethiopia to establish his own colonial legacy. This act of blatant heroism from a nationalist perspective, though met with sanctions, had a minimal impact on his imperialistic plans. It was a clear signal that the great powers were unwilling to take strong action, paving the way for further aggression and showing the weakness of the League of Nations. In Asia, Japan's military leadership and discipline led to a deep-seated mindset of imperial expansion. Their invasion of Manchuria was another key moment that went largely unpunished, showcasing a national growth fueled by a sense of valor and a powerful new humanity. They were building a new order in their part of the world, a new kind of power that would soon have a devastating impact. You see, this was a time of testing the waters, of probing for weakness. The perseverance and courage of these new powers, however misguided, was a stark contrast to the indecisiveness of the old world. Every step they took, every decision they made, was bringing them closer to a final, inevitable confrontation. a path that would lead them to believe that their ultimate victory was a foregone conclusion. All right, with the early acts of aggression largely unchecked, let's look at the final, crucial phase of preparation: the internal consolidation of power. The Axis powers were not just building armies, they were reshaping their nations from the inside out, instilling a new kind of mindset and absolute discipline in their people. This was a form of transformation that prepared them for the immense sacrifice and challenge of total war. Hitler's Germany, for instance, embarked on a furious military buildup, a clear vision for future conquest. This required a level of determination and growth that was both terrifying and incredibly effective. The economic secrets of this period, from state-sponsored industrial expansion to a focus on military production, were all part of a larger strategy to rearm the nation and project power. This was a leadership that demanded complete obedience and loyalty. Mussolini's Italy, meanwhile, focused on cultivating a nationalistic fervor, a sense of collective heroism and valor. He sought to mold a new Italian, one who would embrace a militaristic legacy and fulfill the dream of a new Roman Empire. This kind of propaganda had a powerful impact on the people, creating a national will and a perseverance that would be tested brutally in the coming years. Japan's military leadership continued to strengthen its grip on power, often at the expense of civilian government. Their adaptability in adopting new naval tactics and modern military technology was matched by an uncompromising code of discipline and a fierce sense of honor. This created a resilience in their armed forces that would prove a devastating force for the Allies in the early stages of the Pacific War. The culmination of these internal changes was a collective decision to choose conflict over peace. It was a time of immense discovery for these nations as they found new ways to organize, to fight, and to believe in their own inevitable victory. The humanity of these people was reshaped, ready for a journey into a war that would soon engulf the entire world. All right, with the Axis powers now fully prepared for war, let's turn to the final tense moments that led to the outbreak of the conflict. This period was a profound challenge to the established order, a stark contrast between the ambitious vision of the new powers and the indecisiveness of the old. The policy of appeasement, for example, was a strategic decision made by Allied leaders, hoping to avoid another devastating war. However, the Axis leaders saw appeasement not as diplomacy, but as a weakness to be exploited. Hitler's determination to expand Germany's borders and his relentless perseverance in demanding concessions showed that his mindset was not one of compromise. The Munich Agreement, where a piece of Czechoslovakia was handed over, had a massive impact. It gave Hitler the confidence he needed to proceed with his larger plan and showed the world that he could not be trusted. This series of events and diplomatic failures became a crucial discovery for the Allied powers. They slowly realized that there was no appeasing Hitler's ambition. This was a painful growth, a transformation from passive diplomacy to a reluctant acceptance that a military confrontation was inevitable. The legacy of this period is a sobering lesson on the dangers of inaction in the face of aggression. The final straw, of course, was the invasion of Poland. This wasn't just another act of aggression, it was the final, critical tactics that shattered the illusion of peace. The combined might of the German blitzkrieg, a new kind of warfare based on speed and overwhelming force, was a testament to the discipline and strategy that had been years in the making. It was a heroism born of conquest, not defense. In the end, the sacrifice of Poland became the spark that ignited the world. The courage and resilience of the Polish people in the face of such an onslaught was an inspiration, but the value of their stand was in its final decision to stand up and fight. This choice brought the world to war, setting the stage for a victory that would only be won through years of unimaginable conflict. All right, with the invasion of Poland, the world was irrevocably plunged into conflict. Let's look at the immediate outbreak of the war and the shocking early successes of the Axis powers. This period was a profound legacy of their meticulous planning and discipline. The world watched in awe as the German blitzkrieg, a new kind of mobile warfare, had a devastating impact and proved the vision of their leadership was brutally effective. The strategy of the Axis forces was one of speed and surprise, a radical transformation of battlefield tactics. The old static trench warfare of the past was replaced by lightning-fast armored columns and coordinated air power. This forced a massive adaptability on the part of the Allied forces, who were caught completely off guard. It was a chaotic and terrifying period, but it was also a crucial growth moment for the Allies, teaching them the hard way that a new type of enemy required new kinds of thinking. The fall of France, a supposedly unbeatable military power, was a testament to this new mindset. The determination and perseverance of the German forces in executing their plans led to a swift and shocking victory. This created a sense of Axis invincibility, a heroism born of conquest that would loom over the rest of the war. It was a moment of immense challenge and an equally immense opportunity for Germany and its allies. However, even in these dark early days, there were profound lessons in resilience and humanity. The sacrifice of the British Expeditionary Force at Dunkirk and the subsequent civilian rescue effort was an example of the kind of valor that would define the Allied cause. It was a discovery of a deep national resolve and a courage that would refuse to be broken, even in the face of what seemed like total defeat. Ultimately, this period was about the end of an old world and the beginning of a new one. The early Axis victory had a profound impact, but it also set the stage for a much longer and more brutal conflict. The secrets of this era are in understanding that even in overwhelming triumph, the seeds of future struggles are always present, and the true legacy is built not just on victories but on the capacity to endure,